Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7 and today we are taking a look at the Kubey Knives Eclipse. Now I did buy this knife with my own money. This was designed by Panarin Design and this was OEM'd by Kubey. Now this is an integral, which means this entire frame is one piece of titanium instead of something like this, which is two pieces, right? So this is a sandwich construction. It's got a back spacer. It's got some body screws that are kind of holding everything together. The screws to the clip are holding it all together, right? This is what we normally see. This doesn't have any of that. It's just one solid piece of titanium. So that means a couple of things. One, it doesn't really add any functionality to the knife. So like a case can be made that maybe it makes it slightly stronger, slightly easier to work on because there's less parts, but not really. So what it does do though, from my experience, is it shows the company's machining prowess, right? Because to make it integral is substantially more expensive and the company doesn't really gain anything from doing it other than saying, hey, look at what we can do. And what makes it more expensive is that if they get 75% of the way done, or we'll say 50% of the way done milling this, and they screw something up, they have to scrap the entire piece of titanium. Whereas on a sandwich construction, if they screw up one side and not the other, then they only have to throw out one side. Right? So basically, if you screw this up, you have to replace less. If you screw this up, you got to replace the whole thing, right? So in my experience, companies don't really like slack off on their integrals just because they have more risk, more raw material, more cost, and things like that. Not to mention that integrals come with a higher price point, pushing them, typically well outside of the budget range. So it's not like these fly off the shelf. You pretty much have to be an enthusiast since we're doing something here that adds cost, doesn't add a ton to the design, doesn't really add anything functionally, but it does drive the cost up substantially. You pretty much are targeting the enthusiast market whenever you put an integral together. So that market is 100% me. I love integrals. I think it's cool when companies decide to take on financial risk with virtually nothing to show for it, except for, hey, look what we did, right? And that's kind of what this represents to me, is Kubey just being like, hey, check us out. This is the thing we can do. If anyone doubted our machining prowess, here's proof, right? So I do really enjoy integrals. I will be leaning slightly biased in this review. Because just the fact that it's one piece of titanium is going to give it at least a couple of bonus points for me. So titanium all over, essentially colorless. We have stonewash for the blade, bead blast for the blade, and then we've got just plain titanium for everything else. Deep carry, non-reversible mill titanium pocket clip, T8 hardware for the entire body. We have no hardware up front. We have no backspacer because it's an integral, and then we don't have a lanyard hole or anything like that, which ultimately would have just taken away from this phenomenal aesthetic. As far as the ergonomics go, we've got kind of this gunner grip, which I like because, we get good purchase up here, but you can see how the handle kind of like pistol grips into the rest of my hand. And how it curves down, it just lets me lock in that much more, right? So it would be really hard to kind of get this out of my hand because it's not a straight profile. It's down and then it's angled, right? So I really enjoy that. It makes it really comfortable, really ergonomic. There's no hot spots on this. I mean, if you white knuckle it, the pocket clip's there, but even doing that, I mean, if you squeeze as hard as you can, yeah, you'll feel the pocket clip. You might even feel this right here, but there's going to be very few situations where you are white knuckling your knife. And even if you are, the chances of you doing it for more than a few seconds are pretty slim. So all in all, this is a comfortable knife to use. It does feel hefty, and while we do have, well, you know, I was just about to say we've got some internal milling for weight relief, but we actually don't at all. We've got no internal milling for weight relief. So that paired with the fact that, you know, it's one piece of titanium, that is going to be what causes it to kind of have a little more heft than not. It's not unbearable. It's not unruly. It just feels more solid than, you know, a typical sandwich construction would. As far as the balance goes, yeah, we're pretty close to right where we want to be. We're just behind the pivot, which is fine. I mean, in a perfect world, you'd want to be a little bit closer on the pivot, but right here, yeah, we're in pretty good shape right there. I mean, overall, it's going to feel balanced, a little butt heavy. We do have some jimping here, and I'm happy to say it's functional jimping. So you can, I mean, if you get in there, you can really lock in, right? Your finger's not going nowhere. So, yeah, you can see I'm pushing and I'm not really getting anywhere. So, good functional jimping. As far as the blade goes, we've got this nice bead blast finish. We are rocking a drop point style blade. We have a flat grind, a really handsome swedge up here. And while it's the same bead blast as the rest of the blade, because it's at a different angle, whenever the light catches it, it offsets it from the normal blade, right? So like just looking at it right here, it's like, oh, okay, everything's bead blast. But then you tilt it, and now this is a whole lot lighter and brighter, and it just gives a little bit of contrast to what is otherwise a very uniform overall design. We are rocking M390 blade steel, and something Kubey's known for, and something I absolutely, I think most people love them for, is their heat treat. They're very public about their heat treat. So with their M390, they're 60 to 62, which is exactly where you want M390. That's optimal range. But they also do a cryo heat treat. And while I know what it is, I'm going to sound like a doofus if I try to explain it. I know Rochambeau has talked about cryo heat treats. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people in the comments that can describe it better than me. So if you're one of those people and you can relay cryo heat treat in layman's terms for the rest of us, that would be awesome. But I do know that it enhances and strengthens the heat treat, right? It just enhances the performance of what is already a good heat treat. So now as far as the acoustics go and the action, with the thumb studs, very solid, very fidgety. It's definitely one of those knives where you can apply pressure, and that pressure builds, and then as soon as you break the detent, it comes rocketing out. Which, in contrast, you know, the opposite of that, which would be terrible, is where you push a little bit and then it just kind of, yeah, you know what I'm saying? This doesn't have that problem. We also have this really low profile front flipper. Oh, there we go. That works really good. It's the it's the angle, but mostly it's making sure you're locked into the jimping, right? So like for me, I was sitting too high. I wasn't getting the jimps that I needed. So that's why I missed it a couple of times. But if you get the jimps, it's pretty easy to deploy. Acoustics. We have a very clicky and high-pitched, snappy upward sound, and then on the way down, just a nice little click. And I like it whenever there's a little bit of noise on the disengage. So we have a little bit of a mid click there. So open, disengage, close. So yeah, I'm gonna say the acoustics on this are fantastic. The D10 strength is medium, but it gives a lot of feedback. Like whenever it slaps open, you can kind of feel that reverberate through the entire through the handle, which it's just a nice tactile feel, right? So you're getting positive acoustics at every step of the deployment and closing, and you're also getting a positive tactile feel to fidget with, which makes this knife just an absolute delight. Can I? You better believe I can. Yeah. And then all these different deployment methods just make this knife an absolute blast to manipulate. Now, the close itself it's gonna end up being hydraulic. At the moment, it's a little shake shut, but once I put skiffs in it, I have no doubt this thing's gonna drop all by itself. Now, is it lefty friendly? Oh, lock bar access. They've given us plenty of room to make contact with that lock bar and disengage. So very comfortable, very easy. As far as lefty, yeah, even though the clip's not reversible. Oh. There we go. I don't practice lefty, so this is not something I'm necessarily good at. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. Let's see if can I do yes, I can. So yeah, I would say this is lefty friendly minus the pocket clip. So if you really dig the knife, just know you can still fully manipulate it, even though you be carrying it like, I guess like this. Kind of a bummer. Now overall length is 7.6 inches, blade length of 3.31 inches, and a blade to handle ratio of 0.77, which is fantastic. If I squint really hard, this is slightly reminiscent of a Protean, right? And I don't know why, because I couldn't point to one thing about it. And it might just be barely. But I've just noticed that, like, if I look at this and it's like if you take a drink of something and then you think of a flavor, you start to taste that flavor. So if someone's like, all right, drink this and think about vanilla, and then you drink it and then you think real hard about vanilla and then that flavor comes through. Yeah, I feel like if I look at this and I squint and I think about a Protean, I can kind of see a little bit of it there. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Maybe I'm tripping. But the blade to handle ratio is perfectly fine. Let's do a quick size comparison up against the Civivi button lock Praxis. It is dwarfed. Let's do the Real Steel Sylph. I know I'm going backwards. And the Real Steel Sylph is going to come in a bit smaller. And let's go ahead and do the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen. And that's going to come in maybe half an inch bigger. So, not a full-size knife necessarily, but certainly not a small knife. I mean, I have large-size hands, so, and it's a full 4-finger grip for me with a little bit of room to spare. I can also choke back. I can also choke up. So, I mean, well, it's not, the full 8 inches. It's more than enough room to use and manipulate and have, plenty of comfortability. Now, what does the price on this bad boy come down to? So, 2 things. One, if you just go to the Kubey website and you just plug in your info and swipe, this knife comes in at $348, which is actually competitive if you compare it to other Chinese-made integrals in the same territory, right? With this build quality, these materials. However, you don't have to pay $348 for it. I don't have one, but I believe Lefty has a 20% off affiliate code. I'm positive Neves has one, Stasa has one. So you can go in there and take 20% off, and that's going to be right around $65-$70 off the price, which would drop you closer to $280. I picked this up off White Mountain Knives, and I'm going to link White Mountain Knives specifically because they have an ongoing sale for all Kubeys right now, in addition to their 10% off. So I actually picked up this brand new full titanium integral for like $203, which is wild. So with White Mountain Knives, something you can do is you can plug in your email and set up a notification to get an email whenever your knife is back in stock. That is 100% what I did. This bad boy popped in stock and I went in there, nabbed it as quick as I could. It was like $203. Wild price. So, you know, would I carry this? Absolutely. Absolutely I would. This thing has, it's, you know, been a joy to fidget with. I haven't done a ton with it, but, you know, I've cut some boxes and paper here in my office. It hasn't gotten a ton of carry time per se, but it has gotten a fair amount of use and a tremendous amount of fidgeting. And, you know, if you don't mind the relatively plain aesthetic, you know, and you like everything else I had to say in this review, then I could say that you'll be perfectly happy with it. Now, at $200, it's a good deal for anybody, right? But let's say, you know, you are paying closer to that $280, $300 price point. At that price, I'm going to say, you know, buy this knife if you really dig it, if you really like integrals. You know, I mean, if there's something about this knife that calls to you, then, you know, yeah, $280, $300. You know, just know that if you don't care about the integral part, there's a lot of competition at $280 to $300 that you might find more value in. You know, maybe different aesthetics, a different blade steel, or something like that. So if you don't value the integral part, then you probably want to do some shopping around. Even within Kubey's own line, they've got other knives that are very cool knives that are even below that price point that you might like more than this, right? So, you know, I'll make sure I link all of Kubey at White Mountain Knives because the sale is on every Kubey he's got. Now, it's not an affiliate link. I don't get anything, but I will include my 10% discount code down in the bottom. Now, this actually has made it into my collection. And what that means is I'm not going to hard use it. I'll carry this knife, and then I'll carry another knife like the Sylph or the Brazen, you know, to take the brunt of the stuff I have to do. And this here is just going to do some light duty cutting, some normal EDC stuff. But also, if it makes it into my collection, that means it is much more likely to have a permanent stay. I collect integrals, so I have no reason not to include this one since I like it so much. I got a great deal on it. It's my aesthetic with kind of the plain Jane look. So yeah, this fits in, albeit a more tame entry to my collection. This fits in perfectly. So my question for you though is this something that you would daily carry? Is this something that has a spot in your collection? If it does, then make sure you hop down in the description and check that link to see if they have any in stock. They've got a few colorways: bronze, this bead blast, and then a blackout version. But take a look, see if they have it, and see if you can't score the same great deal I did. And if you want more videos like this, if you like these reviews, hit the like button. Definitely subscribe while you're already down there. And then you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at SEVRSEVN. That's SEVRSEVN. You guys have been fantastic. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the love and support. The live stream was amazing. Thank you for all that you guys do. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Peace.